Let's get right into it,
Hey,
man. HT podcast, man. Myles, Houston, Little
yeah,
Gap, King Tesfai, Yohannes, man. We were just talking
yeah.
right now. Both of our teams are 0 and 2. Let's get
Both of
straight
them
to the
trash.
Lakers, man. You just talked about a pickup that you're not fond of yet, or you aren't fond of in general.
I knew it was going to be an awkward fit to begin with in the off season, but I didn't think it was going to be this bad. I mean, Russ is capable of a triple double machine, but when I started looking at his film and some of the fundamental things like his footwork, his shot selection, his defensive positioning, and all that's like that's some stuff that he's had a problem with ever since he entered the league. But the good thing about it is there's a solution, and the solution to that really is coaching. If Frank Vogel figures out a good lineup where we can get Russ running with that second unit, getting the team fired up, and being the ball dominant player that he is, along with our young players, and we are missing some cats like Trevor Ariza. There's other people and pieces that we don't have just yet, and there's going to be some outside
This
scoring
man said
threats that we
Trevor
need.
Ariza, man.
He's a 3-and-D player, man. He's
Yeah.
still got value. He's not that guy, but we do have that guy on our team in the form of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So really, we should be good. Um, Getting into the second half of the season is when I'm anticipating. I'm thinking it's going to be up until like May when we're like full form. You feel me? So it's gonna be a grind right now, but Braun looks great. That shot's looking beautiful from mid range and the outside, but he can't fall in love with that because you know how he can get, and he'll try to force it sometimes. But AD looks great. I gotta say, albeit Avery Bradley did have a Tony Snell game with recording 0, 0, 0, and 0 with 20 points, 20 minutes in the game. He's going to be an important defensive piece coming into the playoffs. Rondo looks good. Dwight, he he needs to be put in a different lineup, in my opinion. I think he should be starting over DeAndre Jordan. That's just me. I think he gives you more on the defensive end, and offensively, he kind of gives you more in the pick and roll action, especially when you have like Russ on the floor, and because him and DeAndre are just not a threat right now. And I think we'll figure it out. I think Frank Vogel just needs to put the right lineups up because we can't have Russ and Rondo on the floor at the same time. We can't have Russ, and it's really Russ, bro. He really just needs to be on on the floor with a unit where he can be the ball dominant player and just let him go do what he has to do. But
I
LeBron
got
needs to
I
sit
got a quick
down and
question for
watch
you
the film.
since
But
I got a quick question. Just not to
yeah,
cut you off, but and you're
no,
really
you good.
really good with your team. You know your team really really well. So I got two proposals for you that I was thinking
Okay,
about. Right. So number one, I feel like Anthony Davis needs to shut the hell up, man up. He bulked up. He needs to play the five. I think, stretch the floor for the Lakers and have Russ do what he does best, which is attack the basket or just go straight to the basket and find a 3-point shooter open, right? Because I feel like
uh
DeAndre
huh,
Jordan AD is just going to clog up the paint and, Russ can't shoot. So it's just kind of like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Can't do that slashing movement that he does. And my second proposal is exactly what you just said.
uh huh,
You know how LeBron and D Wade, when they first played together in Miami, D Wade obviously can't shoot the ball or whatnot, but they always had one of the two on the floor with the rest of the unit. They'd have like
right.
LeBron and company or D Wade and company. So I feel like you just said, Russ playing with the second unit. You see what I'm saying? Like maybe take him out of the game early and then have
The
LeBron do his
only
thing and then
the only
sub him
problem
out.
with that is we're paying $30-something million a year for a player to come off the bench, and fiscally that's irresponsible. So we got to get the most out of him. And I think, you know, I don't think Russ is going to be able to swallow his pride because you're not going to tell Russell Westbrook to come off the bench. But if they did, it would work so much more beautifully. And hell, if he plays well enough, he can finish the game too. But that's me. But I think, like you said, we're going back to the Miami Heat days when LeBron and D Wade were trying to figure out their roles. I mean, they were still able to get to the finals, mind you. It was just a matter of when it came down to that last shot, that last possession, who was actually going to be the ball dominant player. We all know good and goddamn well who that's going to be. It's going to be LeBron or AD. If Russ doesn't figure that out, then they're going to have to sit down and have a conversation. And Russ, it's just a matter of Russ swallowing his pride. And don't get me wrong, he's an electric player. He's that guy that can get you, he's that spark plug, but I think that's best served off the bench, because if you try to get things done early and you start forcing it and, bad things start happening, it's going to be in your head the whole game. And that's going to be serving our team properly. I think if Frank Vogel, hell, it's really not his team. It's LeBron's team. If Frank or LeBron, the coach, sit down and talk to him and be like, yo, I need you to realize that you starting is not going to help us win right now. If you are starting, you're going to be that $30 million a year player on our books. You need to start playing like it. And you need to stop forcing everything, because all I'm seeing with his film, bro, is there's certain lanes and his footwork is kind of, it's like he's almost battling against himself. He has certain fundamentals that we can overcome. It's just a matter of working with our trainers. And I think if we just figure that out and figure out the lineup situation, will be good. However, there are other teams in the West, as always, that I am terrified of right now. One of them being the Golden State Warriors. And from what I saw so far, we're going to have our hands full in the playoffs if we see them.
Hey, man, listen, man. The West is just going to be a brutal matchup. I mean, honestly, I'm one of those guys who dismissed Phoenix this season, but they look great too. They're off to a great start.
They look like a championship contending team almost, and they didn't even have their best game against us.
Yeah, did you see the Cameron Payne LeBron exchange on the sidelines, man? Come on.
I saw the chatter, and LeBron. That's how I know LeBron is pissed, because he don't be chattering to people. Just Cameron Payne. He don't know him like that. Like, I would have expected maybe Russ to do that, but not him. Russ can't really talk right now.
Man, listen, man. Russ over here having more turnovers than threes, bro. He can't do nothing. But my thing is this, though. In the past 2 seasons with Houston and with Washington, the first half of the season, he always starts out slow. And then after that, he just kind of ramps up and figures out, what he can do and how he can benefit himself and the team. So I'm not really worried about it. Like you said, if they figure it out by May, April, whatever, as long as it's prior to the playoffs and they just, have that good seeding, then that's all really that matters. But like you said, man, the West is scary. Golden State, man, they got a lot of missing pieces that aren't even playing right now with Wiseman, Clay, Kuminga. Clippers don't have Kawhi, Jamal Murray isn't playing right now. So there's a lot of teams that can step it up, come later in the season. But I'm not too worried. I mean, you got LeBron, the coach, like you said. AD just needs to take over, man. He's the best player in the team by far. He just needs to step it up.
And the last thing about this team, we are always fighting it. It always seems like for the last 3 years we've been turning in our assignments very last minute, very procrastination like when it comes to clicking and figuring out our rotation. So Laker Nation, be patient, don't panic. I know I may seem a little panicky at the moment. It's just a matter of time before they figure it out. If anybody can make this team work, it's going to be LeBron. So I have a lot of confidence in him. I just need Russ to watch more film and realize what his strengths and weaknesses are, and stop running. They need to stop running plays with him on the outside, because teams totally disrespect him and just let him have all that space, and they're able to double AD or LeBron, and it just doesn't work out.
Hey, man. See, you got the optimism for the Lakers, but I don't have the optimism in my Celtics, man. Listen, I watched Friday night's game, and you know what's crazy is one of my friends and I were actually thinking about going to the game, and I'm so glad we didn't go. But God Damn, Myles, man, we sucked in the second half, bro. We lost the game by 32. I don't know if you watched the game or not, but we lost by 32. Um, and what stood out to me the most was that we took a total of 11 free throws. I think it was 11 free throws, made 7, but Tatum had 1 free throw. JB had 1 free throw. They're not attacking the paint. JT, what's the point of bulking up, posting these pictures of you toned up, baby oil and all this, looking good, and you can't even get to the basket, bro.
Baby
I
oil.
thought, you know what I'm saying? Like, I figured that,
You know,
I know it's only 2 games, but following the Olympics, I thought maybe, okay, you know what? He's gonna take his game to the next level. I know it's only 2 games in the season, but he's looked like absolute crap. So I mean that, and we're not playing well in defensive end, man. I mean, I'm kind of upset on that.
and I told you this. Remember that conversation that we had before the season started? I told you in the preseason, if he takes that extra step, you guys are going to be a force and a threat. But he does not. He's not aggressive going to the rim for whatever reason. He looked so good in the preseason. I thought him and JT were going to be on the same level. If that happens, you guys are going to be a real scary team. You guys got the pieces too. You guys got an former all-star center in Al Horford, and you guys got some young guys that are going to help you. And I think you guys were looking like you wanted to do something, but you guys just didn't attack. It's just like you guys were playing passively, and
I
I didn't
mean,
like that.
yeah, and I love Al Horford. He played so well on Friday, especially defensively. He
He
looked
had
so
he
great.
had a gret defensive game. But go
Yeah,
ahead.
and I was just gonna say, like, I'm not too worried. Like I said, it's only 2 games. I mean, and we haven't had a game where Jalen and JT both have gone off. I mean, Jalen went off that first night against New York. He destroyed them, but I think he was like, I don't think he had a field goal the entire Friday night evening game. But either way, Tatum needs to take over. I mean, we're in the East where, you got Chicago, you got Brooklyn, you got Milwaukee. Philly might have Ben Simmons back. I don't know what the situation is, but it looks like he might eventually play for a bit there. I mean, who knows? But regardless, with or without him, I mean, Philly's still a better team than us, in my opinion. So we need to step it up. I mean, it's only been 2 games, so I can't really talk that much
Yeah, you
shit.
can't make a huge assessment off of such a small sample size. But I will say you guys do have stiff competition this year, and like you mentioned, Philly, they look like they're going to be a force this year. Joel Embiid might be an MVP candidate again. If he can manage to stay healthy, he might be. And y'all have Milwaukee, a former coming off of a championship. And on top of that, y'all got to deal with another emerging team in Chicago. And let me tell you, bro, they look like the Los Angeles Bulls right now, bro. They look like Showtime. They look like they didn't got some former pieces of ours, and they look like they about to blow up the East, in my opinion. They're 3-0 right now. I watched the game last night. I know I'm sure you saw that back-to-back defensive stops by I believe it was ended with Lonzo Ball, and they've got some talent on their team, dude. I gotta say, the way they're currently constructed right now, I'm going to predict them early to be in the conference finals.
Whoa, 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 whoa,
I'm going to go
whoa,
ahead and say it. I'm going to go ahead and
whoa,
say it.
whoa. So follow-up question. I mean, just to
Yeah.
add on, I mean, they're the only team that's actually been undefeated from the preseason and the regular season. They haven't lost a game yet, but
they got
who would
all
you
that
have?
momentum.
Yeah, no, for sure. But who do you have as okay? So who would you see them facing in the conference finals?
Milwaukee. Bro, if Brooklyn don't have Kyrie, I just don't see it happening, bro. They're not full. They have KD and James Harden and Joe Harris, and they got pieces. Let me not put Joe Harris on that pedestal, but they've got pieces and they can get there, but I don't know, bro. Milwaukee, if you watch Giannis play, bro has a bag now. Like he's got moves and he's just been on fire. Now that he has the confidence knowing that he can beat that team. Okay, maybe I shouldn't put Chicago in that conference finals because Brooklyn is going to be that team to beat, especially in the playoffs. But they're legit going to be a force this year. They have a good defensive team. They're They have solid starting five. I think they all could legit be. Almost all of them could be all-stars. Zach LaVine, Lonzo, Nikola Vucevic. I think those pieces, DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso. I'm just like, dude, they're all very like they're two side. Excuse me. They play well on both ends of the ball, and when you put that team together and they're clicking the way they are this early and this often, if they can stay healthy, I think they're only going to get better from there. And they're young and they're hungry. Were they even in the playoffs last year? I don't even think they made it.
Hell no, they weren't.
Exactly. So they have something to prove. They're going to be that underdog team, and that's just going to drive them and propel them forward. But, if they do happen to see Brooklyn in the playoffs, I think that would be a matchup I would want to watch for 7 games for sure. I'm just saying they have a lot of talent.
They do have a lot of talent, but they don't have a bench. That's the problem. I mean, they got Caruso, Kobe White off the bench, but that's about it. I mean, Brooklyn they're stacked off the bench. And my God, LaMarcus Aldridge looks like the Portland LaMarcus Aldridge.
Portland LaMarcus, yes.
Yeah, Lord man, Jesus. I love that.
That's true. Okay, I'm talking hot. I'm bringing a hot take, but I'm gonna stand on it. I'm gonna stand.
No,
on it.
I'll say this. I'll say this to back you up. I mean, I think they're the wild card in the East. I mean, they're a team that could surprisingly, if they were to make the conference finals, it's not going to be a surprise to a lot of basketball fans like ourselves. So I don't blame you on that. But it better be damn Boston Celtics that made it in there, bro. Because I'm telling you right now, if we cannot make it out of the first round this season with a fully healthy team, I don't care who we play, I'm gonna have an issue with Brad Stevens and the entire team.
You and me both. If we get bounced in the first round, I'm gonna have to take my license plate cover off and just put it in storage for a little bit.
The thing is this: if the Lakers make it, well, they will make that playoffs. But if they make it, and let's say they play a tough first round team, and Russell Westbrook does play like shit, as an example. They're gonna bench him. LeBron's gonna tell him to sit on the bench, and they're gonna play a starting five or a rotation that works best for them. But the Celtics, I mean, we don't even have a rotation that I'm like, damn, these 5 players on the court together are gonna be terrific against any lineup. You know what I mean? Like with Russ, you can just bench him, put LeBron in, Malik Monk at the 2. You know what I'm saying? Move 80 to 5. Yes, so many options. But for us, it's like, damn, you need Tatum to do this, and JB to do that, and then maybe we can do something.
Yeah.
But let's I want to talk about Ben Simmons, man.
Yeah.
I feel like it's every day, it's every day breaking news with him, man.
Something new every time.
Yeah, I mean, in the past week, it's been him with the cell phone issue, and then him getting kicked out of practice, and now the mental illness. But now him and Joel Embiid are cool.
Apparently, according to sources from within the organization, that wasn't his cell phone. That was just his jersey folded up in his pocket. But, nonetheless, he didn't look engaged. They kicked him out of practice, and he doesn't want to be there clearly. But I think it's funny, though, because, in this day and age when professional athletes have, especially NBA players, have all the power, it seems like, when it comes to that collective bargaining, the CBA, and bringing that issue, it actually the opposite. It actually takes away power from the players. And, I got to say, and this is just from like a player wellness perspective, if I was on Ben Simmons' team, I would be blowing him up, bro. If I was one of the teammates, I'd be like, yo, screw it up for the rest of us, because some of us don't have a bunch of endorsements like you and, millions of dollars of contracts on the table, so I just think it's pretty ironic. But Ben Simmons' frustration with the organization, I can say, is valid, because, looking at Doc Rivers at the end of the postseason last year, how you going to say, oh, well, at one moment you're going to say, okay, if I don't play Ben Simmons, you just don't know basketball. You think I should bench him, to flip-flopping and say, I don't know if I can win a championship with him right now. And then Joel going on the podium and saying, hey, when we have that last shot and we miss, and free throws, and first day of practice, if it were me, I'm going to look at everybody and be like, hey, what's going on? What's happening? Doc, fuck you. What's going on, Seth? What's going on, Mr. Curry? What's going on, Matisse? Joel, fuck you too. All right. What's going on, Coach? Let's get into it. And then move on about it, bro. Just move on about my day. But he wants to be a diva and a so-called self-proclaimed socialite. he's gonna try to have it his way, and it ain't Burger King.
No, I agree, man. I agree. I think, you just got to be professional throughout this whole thing. I mean, obviously he wants to get traded. I know Philly wants to move on from him, but, get valid, assets in return. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's in your contract. Like Doc said, you got to do what's best. You got to agree to what you sign up for. So I want to see him play with Philly. I mean, they were a number one seed last year, regardless of what the outcome was in the playoffs. But man, I want to see him play. Regardless, I just want to see him play. I love him. He has a talent. But then again, a part of me doesn't want him to play because, that gives, our Celtics another advantage of, making it out the East. But as a basketball fan, I think we all want to see him play, see Kyrie play. But you're right. I mean, Ben Simmons is a diva. I saw a statistic where he's dated more girls than attempted three-pointers or made three-pointers in his whole NBA career. And I was like, man, I was like, wow.
That's wild.
Yeah, man.
But graphic up.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna put the graphic up. I have the graphic on my laptop. I'm definitely gonna put that up.
Give you his timestamp right now.
It's crazy.
That's ridiculous. That just sounds crazy. But man, speaking of crazy, what's going on with your boy Kyrie, man? He claims to be anti-vax, but his agenda seems to align with the anti-vax tribe.
Yeah. No, honestly, man, look, I don't see him playing another game in Brooklyn, honestly. I mean, whether that's him sitting at home or whatnot, at this point, after the Instagram Live, stint, I don't see him playing or taking a vaccine anytime soon. So I don't know where his mind's at. I mean, if he was a responsible adult, if he didn't want to take the vaccine, in my opinion, just waive the no trade clause. I mean, get traded, agree to a trade that helps you play since you stated that you don't want to retire, and it helps Brooklyn get a piece back to help them, achieve that championship goal that they have. So, I mean, that's the only problem I have with Kyrie. If he doesn't want to take the vaccine, it is what it is. But you got to be a man about it. Understand that there's going to be consequences. Waive that no trade clause if you really want to play basketball. Play for a team that, doesn't have those mandates, but you're still gonna have the restrictions playing in certain cities. But in my opinion, man, I just don't know where he wants to go with this. I mean, you're sitting it out, but what's the next plan?
Yeah, man, I totally agree. And like you said, when you're given an ultimatum and a choice whether to or to not take the vaccine, you understand, there are consequences to both, good or bad. And his whole cause is, I'm trying to be a voice for the voiceless. I'm not anti-vax. I just hate that people are losing their jobs. But we saw from 2 years ago and somewhat of last year, there's other ways to make your voice known and heard while being able to use your platform. But if you're not playing, then you end up eliminating your platform. People can't hear about it. So, it's funny to me that he claims to be anti-vax when all of his claims and his talking points seem to be adjacent to somebody that's anti-vax. And if you're not going to get it at that point, I just consider you anti-vax unless you're like one of those people that are high risk, which he is not. So, like you said, consequences are going to come down regardless of what you do. In this case, in his case, it's more lucrative, extremely lucrative, but he is in a position where he doesn't have to worry about that versus it would have been you or me. And I'm like, vaccination? Yeah, give me that. Give me two. So, at this point, I think moving forward, they already rescinded the extension. I think if he does waive that no trade clause, he can go somewhere like, I don't know, Oklahoma City, be fine and not have to worry about it. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So if that's the hill he wants to die on, then I'm gonna let him die on that flat hill, and he can do that. So I just think it's hilarious that we have come to the point where we have athletes not getting the bag. You know, remember back in the day, you know, like early, like in the 70s, like guys had to get part-time jobs to make ends meet and able to make ends meet while playing professional basketball. Now you got millions of dollars on the table, and you know, you have the option to say, no, I don't want that because my agenda, because I want to speak up for a cockamamie cause that, you know, doesn't really have any real meaning to it, in my opinion. So
And you have a
I just
great
think
point.
it's really weird.
You have a great point. Just
Yeah.
look at Andrew Wiggins, right? That's what made him want to take the vaccine was the money. So he was talking about generational wealth. So, I mean, to Kyrie, I mean, to be fair, which is outrageous, he's still getting paid the games that he could play, which equates to like $16-17 million per season. So he's getting paid to sit at home, which is everybody's dream. But let me ask you this. You were talking about the contract extension. If let's say he doesn't take the vaccine, let's say he doesn't waive no trade clause and he becomes a free agent. If you're a GM for not a lottery team, but a team that's trying to make the playoffs, a la the Pelicans or whatnot, would you offer him not a max contract, but would you offer him a large contract?
I give him
knowing
a little,
his history.
Yeah, knowing that, because he's such a impact player. That's tough, because I would love to offer him like an $80 million extension or something considered, or $100 million extension. That's what he's worth. You know, it's a big risk. And that's going to be in the negotiation room. And, you know, just like it is with the Nets right now, like, hey, if you aren't able to play or aren't taking the vaccine, then, you know, unfortunately, I can't pay you that amount, you know. So I would have to renegotiate and be like, yo, so at this rate, you're actually worth half of your contract. So you're really worth like $50 million. You're not worth that $100 million extension that contract that I would offer you. And at that point, he's still not willing to do that, then, you know, I'd have to just pass up on it. As a GM, I feel like that's a bad investment, but, you know, that's the position that Kyrie's going to be putting every team in that's considering trying to pick him up off of the Brooklyn Nets, you know? So I feel bad for the organization, but, you know, ever since he said the earth was flat, they should know there was a risk. There was a risk involved. And I keep bringing it up, I know, but, man, I got to say, the whole situation is just, it's nuts to me, man.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking to somebody, bro, who dealt with him for 2 years and his antics, and, you know, talking about he would re-sign with the Celtics and not doing that, and then talking to KD during a Celtics game, talking about, hey, New York got 2 open max slots, man. So we know what Kyrie's about. I mean, it's funny because, you know, Bradley Beal also hasn't taken the vaccine, and yet the whole criticism of players not getting the vaccine is just centered around Kyrie. So I do feel for Kyrie in that sense, but
yeah, he is the face of it just because he's the biggest player and he has the biggest platform out of all of them. But continue.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and you got to take his history into consideration. Him, you know, talking about the Earth is flat, and, you know, et cetera, and, you know, the BLM movement, and not wanting to, you know, join the bubble, having players, you know, not join the bubble last year. So, I mean,
missing games.
Yeah. So I just think that where he has so many, even though he has so many haters right now, there's so many people supporting him. I don't think he'll just take that vaccine. You know, he has that following behind him, and I don't see why he would just all of a sudden get the vaccine for, you know, 2 months, 3 months later. So, in my opinion, I feel like Ben Simmons for Kyrie just works perfectly for both teams. But, you know, the NBA is not that easy of a market and business. So
that is the trading question, huh? Kyrie or Ben Simmons? You know, I feel like Kyrie's the better player, but Ben Simmons is actually available. So that'd be an interesting little swap if they could put that deal together. But
can you imagine pick and roll with Harden and Simmons, the high flying Simmons?
Oh my God! And you can have a pick and roll with Ben Simmons and LaMarcus Aldridge, and oh my God, a pick and pop with LaMarcus Aldridge. Holy crap!
Yeah, you got so many options, man. I mean, I just could see it happen, but either way, I don't know if I know you kind of hinted it, so I don't know if this is your answer, but I think Milwaukee might come out the East, bro. I mean, I love Harden, I love KD, but I mean, fully healthy Bucks team,
Yeah,
Giannis in that jump shot. I don't know,
yeah.
bro.
Milwaukee looks dangerous, and if I could bounce over to the West, I say Utah looks bad, man. I'm thinking they were almost there last year. They came real close. It had Donovan Mitchell not gotten injured, I think it could have been them, but we'll see what happens.
Donovan needs to get out of he needs to get out of Utah, bro. I don't understand that fit because it's just so like there's no star talent to help him out. I mean, you got Rudy Gobert, and he's just
Gobert, and that's
he's just there. Like I feel like Donovan Mitchell needs like I don't know exactly what he needs, but he needs to be partnered with another star player, like another wing star player.
Somebody he can defer to. And you know what I think would be an interesting trade? I think Damian Lillard for Donovan Mitchell, straight up, them two. And I think Dame, it wouldn't serve him, but if he did want to get out, they have a superstar player they can just swap teams for. And I think Donovan Mitchell will be effective on the Portland Trailblazers because he would bring a lot of intensity, you know. And he's the type of player that, you know, when necessary, he'll take over, but he can get the ball moving around and spread some offense. I think like you said, having a player to defer to, that being CJ McCollum, would actually really help him.
Yeah, you know what's one thing?
By himself.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Myles, and I'm gonna be straight up. If there's one player in the league that I really, really do not like, and I'm not talking about as a person, just his gameplay, it's CJ McCollum. I do not like him. I don't know why.
Like him.
Well, the thing is, like, he's so like his ceiling is what you see out of him. He's not gonna get any better, in my opinion. Defensively, he is horrible. But I just feel like I just don't like him. I don't know why. I'm not a fan. So I'm just like, man, like just to wrap up the segment and, you know, this show, like Dame talked about this earlier this week. He doesn't want to leave Portland once again. Keep saying it. But I just don't see like how you're going to win with CJ McCollum as your partner. And you have the same team as you have had past 3 years. You know, Nurkic is down low, and then Norman Powell is great. Robert Covington's, you know, he's a solid defender, whatever. But CJ McCollum to me is not going to like be the go-to guy for you to get to the Western Conference Finals at minimum.
Yeah, I see. He's not going to be that piece to swing the pendulum, and I can see that. But let me ask you this: if you were a GM and you're trying to make your team better, if you were specifically the Portland Trailblazers GM, who, you know, you're trying to reconstruct your team, trying to make y'all better. Are you going to get rid of CJ being one of those vets or one of the foundations of your team? Do you move him, or do you see if he continues to improve? Because you said that he's already at his ceiling. You don't think he can get any better?
Well, I'll say this. You and I can both agree. The best that the Trailblazers did was in 2019 when they hit the Western Conference Finals, correct? And that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So CJ McCollum and Dame have been playing with each other for what, 6-7 years, and I mean, there's nothing that they've only been to the Western Conference Finals once. They got swept in that series. To me, it's just like they got bounced in the first round last year. They got bounced in the first round 2018, and I believe 2017 also. They got swept 2017 and 2018. So it's like, CJ McCollum to me is a great trading piece. I would put him and a Norman Powell, try and get Bradley Beal if that day does come down the line where he does want to get traded, or if, you know, he's a free agent where you can do a sign and trade or whatever. But to me, I'm trading CJ. I mean, CJ can't play defense. He's undersized. Offensively, you don't really need an offensive player on that team. You need defense. I mean, you got offense with Dame, Norman Powell, Nurkic down low. I would just trade him, man. Try and get a Ben Simmons trade, Bradley Beal trade. Try and get somebody that you can get to help your team and the weaknesses that you have. Pascal Siakam's another player, you know, you could go after. But to me, I mean, that's CJ and Dame Mix is not it. But I don't know what you think. To me, I love how they said they were one of the greatest backcourts out there, and I'm just like, man, what have you accomplished? Like in my opinion, like,
nothing that they've accomplished so far. But I do like the idea of a Pascal Siakam trade. You could package Norman Powell in there and try to get another piece back for that, or a draft pick, if anything. But it's interesting because they're always there in the playoffs, but they always seem to come up short. And what if they were to move CJ out of there for like a Ben Simmons, like you said, or I can't remember the other. My short-term memory is terrible right now. I can't remember the other trade that you had put out there. But if they were,
I said Bradley Beal.
Bradley Beal, yeah. So if they were to go for that, they'd have to, move one of their foundational pieces, because, like you said, that is kind of their signature, the backcourt. But it kind of kills them in the end, especially when they get down to the playoffs. But we'll see, man, because I don't think Dame's going to be there forever, quite frankly, even though he claims he wants to stay there. I think he's at this point, he's pretty much frustrated. We've seen it on his face after games, after series, that, somebody that wants to win so bad, they're willing to do whatever.
I got a quick analogy to make with you real quick.
Around. Yeah.
Just to wrap it up. It goes back to the Toronto Raptors when they were average with Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan. They could never get over the hump. And then Masai Ujiri and Toronto were like, you know what? Screw it. We're going to trade one of those two, go all in, get Kawhi, and make a run for it. That helped Toronto out. So with Portland, I'm looking at them. They're in the same situation. They got they got a duo that brings them to the playoffs, but never gets over the hump. And I'm just like, you know what? Philly asked for, CJ McCollum and some draft picks. At this point, if you want to keep Dame and Dame says that he wants to be there, you just got to go. You got to go all in. You got to go all in and just get players, no matter what the cost is, to help Dame and push you to the promised land. So in my opinion, you got to make a move. If there's something out there like a Siakam, Ben Simmons is definitely out there. You gotta screw the draft picks, throw them in. CJ McCollum, another player that makes sense if need be, but you need to get over that hump for sure, because this is it. Dame's 31, so he wants to be in Portland. Portland wants him. Fan base wants him. You got to make it happen.
Yeah, you don't want to waste the player's prime. That could be the worst thing that could happen. And Dame being one of my favorite players to watch from like an offensive technical standpoint, he's just such a good player. But hey, man, we ain't GMs. We just watching, so we can only hope for the best with them. But that being said, we can go ahead and wrap this episode up for today. Thanks for joining us, guys. We appreciate you showing the support. If you're watching this, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening, go ahead and follow us so you can stay up to date on all of our new episodes. We'll try to get some more content out for y'all. I know we've been away, been super busy, but we're trying to get something out for y'all to enjoy. But again, this has been Myles, aka Lil Gap, your boy Yohannes, aka Team Tesfai. This has been HT Podcast. We'll catch you on the next one.